Development for X-Men started way back in 1984 with Orion Pictures, but it wasn't until 1994 that 20th Century Fox snagged the film rights for $2.6 million. Over the years, big names like James Cameron and Kathryn Bigelow were in talks, and writers like Andrew Kevin Walker, John Logan, Joss Whedon, and Michael Chabon took cracks at the script. When Singer came on board in 1996, he worked with Tom DeSanto and David Hayter to craft the final story and screenplay. Hayter even has a cameo as a cop in the film. The budget was set at $75 million, which was substantial for the time, especially for a superhero film. To put that in perspective, Blade had a budget of $45 million, so X-Men was a big bet for Fox. Filming took place from September 22, 1999 to March 3, 2000, mostly in Toronto and Hamilton, Ontario. Locations like Casa Loma and Parkwood Estate were used for the X-Mansion, giving it that grand, almost mythical feel. Spencer Smith Park in Burlington doubled as Liberty Island for some key scenes. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The production faced tight deadlines. Fox moved the release date from Christmas 2000 to July 14, 2000, forcing Singer to finish 6 months early. Post-production was so hectic that editing, scoring, and visual effects were sometimes done simultaneously. The crew also dealt with challenges like paint fume exposure during a cold Canadian winter, and Singer himself faced criticism for arriving late and having mood swings, reportedly due to medication for back pain. Speaking of visual effects, X-Men was groundbreaking for its time. In the late 1990s, CGI was still evolving, and Singer studied films like Star Wars Episode I and Titanic to blend practical and digital effects. Multiple companies, including Digital Domain, Scienceseed, and Rhythm & Hues, were brought on late in the game to handle the effects. While visual effects supervisor Mike Fink later expressed dissatisfaction with some of the work, the film still earned a near nomination for an Academy Award for visual effects. From Storm's weather powers to Mystique's transformations, the effects hold up surprisingly well and add to the immersive feel. The budget of $75 million might seem modest compared to today's $200 million blockbusters, but X-Men made every dollar count. It grossed $157.3 million in the US and Canada and $296.3 million worldwide, making it the 8th highest grossing film domestically and 9th worldwide in 2000. That's a massive win, especially when you consider it outperformed films like Mission Impossible 2 in its opening weekend, raking in $54.5 million. This success proved superhero movies could be box office gold, paving the way for the Marvel Universe and beyond. So why should you watch X-Men? For starters, it's a film that takes its source material seriously. Unlike the campy Batman and Robin from a few years earlier, X-Men treats its characters like real people with real struggles. The story explores themes of prejudice and acceptance, drawing parallels to the civil rights movement and other real-world issues. It's not just about mutants with cool powers, it's about what it means to be different in a world that fears you. Singer and his team nailed this balance, giving us action-packed sequences without sacrificing character development or emotional depth. The film's runtime is a tight 1 hour and 44 minutes, rated PG-13 for sci-fi action violence and some language. It's accessible for teens and adults alike, with enough wit and heart to keep everyone engaged. The dialogue is sharp, especially the banter between certain characters, and the pacing keeps you hooked from start to finish. Plus, the film's visual style, with its sleek black leather costumes instead of the comic's colorful spandex, gives it a grounded, modern edge that still feels timeless. The music, composed by Michael Kamen, adds another layer of epicness. Known for his work on films like Die Hard, Kamen's score blends orchestral grandeur with a sci-fi vibe, perfectly capturing the film's mix of action and emotion. The cinematography by Newton Thomas Sigel and editing by Steven Rosenblum, Kevin Stitt, and John Wright keep the visuals crisp and the story flowing smoothly. Critics loved X-Men when it came out, and it still holds up. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 82% approval rating from 174 reviews, with a 7.10 average score. Metacritic gives it a 64 out of 100 based on 33 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Fans on IMDb rated 7.3 out of 10, praising its casting and themes, but noting some dated effects or simplified character arcs. The film won several Saturn Awards, including Best Science Fiction Film, Best Director for Singer, and Best Actor for Jackman, and it was nominated for a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. For comic book fans, X-Men stays faithful to the spirit of the source material while making smart changes for the screen. Some purists griped about deviations like Rogue's powers being toned down due to rights issues with Ms. Marvel, but the film captures the essence of the X-Men universe. It's a great entry point for newcomers too, since it introduces the world and characters without overwhelming you with decades of comic lore. And let's not forget the cultural impact. X-Men didn't just launch a franchise with 13 films and counting. It changed how Hollywood saw superhero movies. It showed that these stories could be more than popcorn flicks. They could tackle big ideas and connect with audiences on a deeper level. The film's release on July 14, 2000, after a premiere at Ellis Island, marked a turning point, and its success led to sequels like X2 and Logan, which many consider some of the best superhero